This is the Devil's Guide to D&D. Devil's Delegate here, and I'm back for my fourth look at the 9 subclasses from Matt Mercer's Critical Role Tal'Dorei Reborn book that was just released. And correcting my last video where I said 8 subclasses, nope, the book has 9. Today I'm looking at the Path of the Juggernaut Barbarian. This subclass was published before, and it was okay, but it has been greatly revised. Now, is it good? Should you have it at your table? Let's see. Now, barbarians are very good as tanks and as strikers. Not much else. So, in a barbarian subclass, what I'd like to see is some buffs to my defense and probably 2 damage, but even more some versatility. Give me something else to do. Of note, barbarian subclasses have not been good at supplying that versatility, so I'm pretty grateful to get anything. And what the Juggernaut supplies is a little bit of battlefield control. The subclass is all about forced movement, and in the right environment, that can be very powerful. It also gives you a slightly different way of playing your barbarian. Slightly. Starting off at 3rd level, you get Thunderous Blows. When raging, if you hit a creature, you can push it up to 5 feet. Huge or larger creatures get a save, which means medium or smaller creatures do not. You're just going to shove them around the battlefield. And any player of a warlock with Repelling Blast can tell you how powerful that can be. It makes you a better defender as you can rescue allies by pushing away their attackers. That'll only work so well with just 5 feet, but once you get extra attack, thus possibly pushing 2 times 5 feet, and at 10th where each shove is up to 10 feet, so you could easily be moving creatures 20 feet, this becomes effective. And it can also be really impactful if you are fighting in an area of interesting terrain. Cliffs, raging rivers, quicksand, lava, fun things to push people into. And this goes through the roof with a proper party. Are your casters creating walls of fire, spike growths, the eldritch evil of Hunger of Hadar, a sphere of sickening radiance? Your pushing may end up doing far more damage than your weapons. Of note, the original version limited your pushes to once per turn, so this is much better. Much better. Also at 3rd you get Spirit of the Mountain, which, when raging, stops you from being moved or knocked prone. If your campaign has this happen a lot, then this will be good. From my experience, monsters don't use forced movements or even knocking prone enough that I feel the need for a feature to stop it, but sure, it's fine. At 6th level, you get Demolishing Might, where you can do an extra D8 of damage to constructs and double damage to objects. Whoopee! I'll politely call this situational, and in the original version of the Juggernaut, this was all you got, so I would not be happy with this level. But this is fine now because we do get something else, and that's Resolute Stance. You go all in being defensive at the beginning of your turn until the start of your next. You can't be grappled, attack rolls against you and made by you are at disadvantage. This is generally going to make you stand longer, which makes you a better defender. But the big thing here is this says nothing about rage. Without the resistances supplied by rage, you can get in trouble quickly, as you don't have the same kind of armor as a fighter. So if you run out of rages, here's a way you can still do your job and survive. At 10th level, you get the somewhat complicated Hurricane Strike. When you push a creature 5 feet, you can use a reaction. Remember, you can use your reaction on your turn in the middle of your movement or attack. To leap 5 feet to land next to them, then force them to save or be knocked prone. So a little extra movement can be nice, and a prone enemy is easier to hit. If you're raging, you have advantage on grapples, so good time to grapple and pretty much end him as he's then in bad shape. All that's nice, but better still, when you push a creature next to an ally, it can use its reaction to make a melee attack. Now we're talking. If your party has a paladin, or better, a melee rogue that you're giving an extra sneak attack to, then this could win battles. With a less synergistic party, this is good, but not amazing. Obviously, this is meant to work with your 3rd level Thunderous Blows, but it isn't a requirement. Hurricane Strike doesn't mention it, or rage, or how you push. So how about the telekinetic feat, pushing with your mind? There's fun combos to be made here. Finally, 14th level gives you Unstoppable. When raging, your speed cannot be reduced, and you're immune to frightened, paralyzed, prone, and stunned. And if you are already affected by those, you can use a bonus action to enter rage where you aren't affected by them. I'm not thrilled with the wording here, as my understanding of how suddenly gaining immunity works in general is that it tosses off the condition permanently, and that wording implies it might come back when you stop raging. But it is only an implication of the language, so I'll stick with the general special rule, which makes this even better. Mental saves are a weak point for barbarians, so immunity to several of these conditions is big. This is a lot of defense. Still, I'm not overwhelmed by this, but I'm generally not by barbarian subclass capstones. Barbarians tend to start to sputter out a bit around this point, and there's only one I like better. So yeah, this is good. And so is the subclass. It's not the top barbarian, but it easily beats half of them, and that focus on shoving creatures around the battlefield makes this more fun to play than others. Plus, I appreciate it supplying something to do when you're out of rages. This is another win for Mercer and Company. Tal'Dorei Reborn is proving its worth. So that's it for now. I'll be back soon with more reviews of the Tal'Dorei subclasses, and until then, I've worked enough. It's time for sex, drugs, and rock and roll.